Hey guys, just a reminder, this is not official medical advice or such. Please seek an appointment with a licensed medical provider. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Dive Into Diet. We are jumping into Johnson City to talk with Nutrition Coach Lucas Schmidt here on Performance Medicine TV. And Lucas, it's good to see you, man.
Hey, you too.
I'm excited about today's topic. I'm always cued in a little bit before we hit record, and when you mentioned this one, it immediately I got interested. You'll laugh at me, but I got interested because I love ginger ale.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I know you're gonna call me out on how much sugar's in ginger ale and how but
you just did that yourself. I don't have to do it. No, I'm just joking. I'm terrible. They actually make healthier ginger ale, believe it or not. I can tell you about it in the episode.
We should. This is a perfect episode to do it on, and
yeah.
I'm interested in ginger. One, it seems to calm my stomach down a little bit, and I think it's known for that. But you could just completely say I'm wrong, and you know what? That wouldn't be the first time on Dive Into Diet.
I could say you're wrong, but I would be wrong because it actually does supposedly in some studies help with the stomach. So you're not wrong. You are correct.
There we go. Where do you want to start with ginger? Because we haven't done a deep dive on this on any of our
cool
podcasts. So it's cool.
Ginger is it's a root grown in tropical and subtropical areas. It's found all over the world. The most common producers of ginger, like commercially, I wrote them down, would be India, China, and Nepal. So
okay,
they're the largest overall producers, but it's found in South America, North America, Australia. It's found all over the world. So those are just sort of the commercial shippers of it. So ginger is often used in cooking. It's very common in Asian food. I think probably Indian food, Middle Eastern food. Foods you often, actually Jamaican food as well. It's tropical food. It's delicious. That's one of my favorite.
So ginger's actually, it's used in, I guess, seasoning and stuff of that nature?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, cooking, they use it dry or fresh for different reasons. So what's interesting when I was reading it up on it for the episode was I learned something I didn't know about ginger prior, which was that the compound in ginger is called gingerol. Pretty easy to remember. Like think alcohol, but ginger instead. It's not alcohol. It just sounds like it. Gingerol. Sounds like alcohol made from ginger. But it's actually converted into something. Well, excuse me. I don't know that it's fully converted, meaning replaced, but another compound comes about when you dry ginger. And it's called, okay, I'm going to spell it for you. I had never seen the word until I was getting ready for this. Shogaol. Shogaol?
Okay. Yeah.
That
Sounds
is a
right.
compound. Yeah, that's produced when you dry ginger out or slightly heat it. So powdered ginger, which you can buy, in the spice rack or supplements or powdered ginger in a pill, essentially. That compound is found there. It is twice as spicy dry as it is fresh because of that compound. So that's why there's different purposes in cooking. So if you're making like ginger spice cookies, typically you use powdered ginger. But like if you're having like a Thai dish, you'll find little fresh strands of ginger in the food. They'll cook it, of course, but you'll find fresh ginger in the food. So a lot of other recipes use fresh ginger too, or grated ginger. You'll get the root and you put it over a zester and grate it down. So those are sort of the culinary reasons. The other area culinarily speaking, is tea. You can buy ginger tea, which is it's the dry form. That's why ginger tea is pretty spicy. The reason ginger is spicy is because it's chemical. There's a chemical, the gingerol chemical, is actually related to capsaicin, which is the spice found in hot peppers. So chemically, it's like a cousin of capsaicin, but it is not the same as capsaicin. Capsaicin's hotter, generally. So if you eat like a habanero pepper and your mouth is on fire, that's from a chemical called capsaicin. Ginger does not contain capsaicin, but gingerol is chemically similar, so it can cause a much lighter but similar effect to capsaicin, the spice effect. So
I've definitely had spice, like a spice sensation from ginger. There's even certain types of ginger ale that is a little, would be considered kind of spicy in ways.
it's prickly tasting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It,
Sorry to cut you off.
no,
Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of ginger ale, you mentioned the sugar content. I have found ginger ales in Ingles, the grocery store Ingles. So I'm only mentioning it by name because it's the only one I've looked for it in. In the soft drink aisle, you can find ginger ale, but next to it, you'll find other brands. And I found a few brands that use stevia or erythritol to sweeten it. And they actually use real ginger extract and not ginger flavoring. Sadly, a lot of ginger ale, I think even name brand ginger ale, I could be wrong here, I don't know that they actually use real pressed ginger anymore.
That's
and so when they
interesting.
go, I need ginger ale, it settles my stomach. I'm like, well, it's probably the carbonation or the thought that it's settling your stomach, not the fact that it's actually chemically altering your digestive system.
You might have just ruined the placebo effect for me.
Yeah, probably. However, you can find healthier ginger ale that's real ginger ale. It's actually made from real ginger juice or pressed, however they make it. You don't have to look far. It's a little pricier, but so there is that.
Is this, why does it help with your stomach?
Well,
is
that
that the only
brings us-
reason? Is that the only reason to take it?
No, not necessarily. That's the primary reason I would suggest, based on the research I looked at. So the therapeutic uses for it would be gingerol, which I've already mentioned. It stimulates the digestive system, so it can help move things through you quicker. That doesn't mean like diarrhea. It just means it keeps things moving. So if you've eaten like an overly rich meal and you're kind of feeling icky, nauseated because of that, one of the reasons it can help with nausea is because it kind of shuttles things along faster. It can, and maybe not everybody. And then the other thing, the shogal, however you pronounce it, and gingerol can block 5-HT3 receptors, which can help relieve nausea as well. I looked into it also because I had heard that ginger was good for motion sickness, like seasickness, things like that. So I kind of did a dig on that. I couldn't find research that suggested it treated motion sickness in a potent way. It helped provide some of the relief from nausea, but as far as interfering with the problem of the inner ear, which is a primary reason for motion sickness, if not the only reason you get motion sick, because your inner ear is what helps govern your equilibrium, your balance, and your proprioception. That's what, like, vertigo is caused in the inner ear. So vertigo is like a condition where the fluid in the inner ear is either you have inflammation or you have little particles, crystals that float into the wrong channel, trigger your motion sensors, and make you think the room is spinning even though it's not. That's what seasickness is also caused by. Ginger, to my knowledge, doesn't interfere with that process.
Okay.
So it's not going to treat that, but it can help blunt the nausea response to that process. So I think a lot of people think, well, motion sickness is the dizzy part. No, that's vertigo. Motion sickness is the nausea you get from that. So those are two separate things. Some people just get vertigo, but they don't get nauseated. Like, you can get vertigo and not vomit or not be sick to your stomach. But if you're prone to motion sickness, that means you can't spin around a bunch without needing to throw up, which is,
Right.
I have that problem. I can't handle it. So the ginger can help with the nausea part, but it's not going to help with the vertigo part.
That's interesting. Would it help with, like, as you're talking, I was kind of thinking about car sickness, like when you.
That's motion sickness. Yeah,
Okay.
That's motion sickness. It's going to help. It could help with the nausea. I take it for that reason, and I seem to benefit. It could be placebo. I really don't care.
Yeah, I'm the
If
same.
it works, it works. It's not going to treat the perception problem, which is the root of that problem, which is, oh gosh, my inner ear thinks I'm moving or should be moving, and I'm not. The easiest example for me is you ever like you go into park, like you park your car on a hill, and you know how when you put your parking brake on, but you let your actual brake off, your car still shifts a little bit, like even an inch, your car will kind of boom, and then the
Yeah.
parking brake catches it. I've made the mistake pulling in, putting it in park, and then I keep my foot down on the brake just because I'm not thinking, and I get on my phone, and then I let up the brake while I'm on my phone. The car moves. That, believe it or not, that slight little shift where my eyes are fixated on something still, but the car moves will cause motion sickness for me. That's how sensitive I am. So the
God.
ginger is not going to treat my brain going, whoa, but the ginger might help with the nausea I get for 30 minutes after that.
No, that's really interesting. So it helps with the nausea, but not the vertigo. So it doesn't get to the
Yeah.
root problem. It helps.
Yeah, I
with
don't
the
want people leaving
symptoms.
this thinking, I can treat my vertigo with ginger. Not necessarily. You can help with the byproduct, but not, to my knowledge, it was not effective at treating that. So I don't want to make false promises on it. There are other possible uses for ginger. So this is a caveat here. I don't want anybody thinking I can take ginger instead of my heart medicine. Okay. It's being researched for. When I say it's being researched for, it means it's possibly shown benefits in these areas. Okay. Calcium channel blocking and an ACE inhibitor. These are both potential protectors for the heart and or lowering your blood pressure. Okay. It's a possible blood sugar regulator and cholesterol regulator. Preliminary studies, meaning early studies, these aren't thorough. They can confirm this, but they need further evaluation. And it's a potential pain reliever and anti-inflammatory.
Interesting.
So, yeah. The anti-inflammatory effect, ginger falls in the category, is related to the category of the curcumin and spicy stuff, curcumin, turmeric, all that business. So it's sort of a cousin of those things, and that's probably why it is kept in that category of anti-inflammatory. That term is thrown around all the time in supplements. Anti-inflammatory effects. I could probably, there's probably a list of 100 supplements you can take that are anti-inflammatory. How anti-inflammatory? I can't speak to that right now. That's just one of the categories it's in. As far as dosages go, this is wide because it's a food, right? It's used in cooking. So it's hard to calculate the dose of that. Like ginger root looks super weird.
Surely you could take too much ginger.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you took too much ginger, you'd probably have diarrhea or like heartburn or something like that because it's a spice, I don't know that it's easy to take too much. Supplement-wise, because it's dried and much more concentrated, the dose ranges I was seeing was 500 milligrams up to 2,000 milligrams. Although the most common dose I will say I could find in supplements was 1.1 to 1.2 grams or 1,100 milligrams.
So, when you say supplements, it's not in a capsule form.
It is.
Oh, no kidding.
It's very cheap ginger pills. Yeah.
Huh.
I have ginger pills at home in case I get nauseated.
So you take, so if you were to feel a little nauseated, you would take a ginger pill.
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah. That's my go-to because it's gentler. It's a food technically. I'm just taking a food to help me instead of a, Dramamine.
Right.
Problem with Dramamine is you feel great, but boy, you don't want to do anything. You're drowsy as all get out. So,
yeah.
And same thing for like something prescription like Phenergan. It causes drowsiness. I think there's another well-known anti-nausea medication, Zofran. Those are, one, prescription only, and two, can cause severe drowsiness, which is great if you're trying to sleep, but not if you're trying to do anything else.
Right.
So, and you can't drive when you're on them.
That's super interesting. So I'm mainly hearing it's for nausea, but also has other benefits. You gave the dosing. It comes in capsule form.
Yep.
Any other thing you want to kind of dive into in regards to ginger on this episode?
Not to my knowledge. Nope.
That's super cool, man. I'm kind of pumped. I love ginger ale, and I heard the good things. I might I heard the good things from you with ginger ale.
Yeah, I mean, if you took too much, I guess you could irritate your stomach. Sort of like mint. There's a recommendation if you're taking mint tea, don't drink too much. You can irritate the lining of your stomach. Other than that, I mean, it's fairly safe. Like I said, it's a food. It's a culinary staple, unless you're allergic to ginger. But I don't know anybody. I've never met a person who's allergic to it. So
that's super interesting, man. Is that a podcast? Is that an episode?
I hope so. I think so.
All right. Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Don't go away.